Donald Trump's horrible lawyers, who were now appointed to top positions in the Department of Justice, are still horrible lawyers, Harry Litman, and they are making decisions that show why it is that you should have some experience being a federal prosecutor before you're made the lead federal prosecutor in a specific district. This must be near and dear to your heart, Harry Litman, because you were the United States Attorney, the top federal prosecutor for the Western District in Pennsylvania. You led that district, and you know what that entailed, the experience running in office, how you have to be meticulous, the steps and processes you have to go through, how your office would interact with, say, the public integrity section or other divisions at Main Justice in DC, and how your position was not a political one when you were the top one. You were the top federal prosecutor who stood for law and order. So when I see this charging document against Democratic Congresswoman McIver for her conducting oversight at Delaney Hall, this migrant detention facility that was reopened in New Jersey, that the Trump regime was not giving access to both the Newark mayor and Democrats in Congress, and Congresswoman McIver was there. And now it's being alleged that she assaulted private security guards or ICE officers. It's unclear if they're even ICE or if they're private security guards, because this facility is run by private security guards. Even the way this charging document was handled against McIver, Congresswoman McIver, raises all sorts of red flags that I want to break down for our audience. I mean, the first thing, Harry, is that Alina Habba issued a press release from her official United States Attorney account, and there was no corresponding charging document, no grand jury indictment, or no complaint. You need to eventually go in front of a grand jury on a case like this if you're charging someone with the felonies. But it's very unusual, I think, and I want to get your take, to just issue a press release before there's any criminal charges that are even made public at all. I mean, there are some exigent emergency circumstances, that I've read about in the DOJ handbook, but this is not one of them. And then when you read the press release, it doesn't even say alleged assault, alleged. It literally says that Congresswoman McIver engaged in an assault, and goes very directly, a crime has been committed, which is unusual language as well, because in cases like this, I think prosecutors go out of their way to remind the public to make sure that there's no prejudice in the proceeding, that still everybody's presumed innocent in our system, and that these are allegations, and it's not like presume that you are guilty the way this is written. So about 12 hours later or so, the charging document is finally made public. There's no grand jury indictment. It's just, it's done by a complaint. I mean, they have to go in front of a grand jury to begin with. But then it raises questions like, what's the rush? Why are you doing it this way? And then when you go through the complaint, it has these like weird photographs of Congresswoman McIver where, it's hard to even see what the heck is going on here. And look, as a legislator, as a member of Congress, she has the right to show up unannounced and conduct oversight of federal facilities. She was obstructed from doing that by these private security guards. It seems like they then started to rough up the Newark mayor, and that escalated things. That's why they dropped the charges against the mayor, because I think they recognized that in the video, they initiated physical contact with him. And then she was kind of caught in this scrum. And now they're saying that you were impeding what? So, Harry, with your background and experience, what we like to do here when we do these duets together, I don't just want to, everybody knows the story at this point. Unfortunately, Congresswoman McIver was charged for, it's this unprecedented that you have a member of Congress being charged with something like this. Alina Habba previously expressed her intentions to politicize her office, to try to turn New Jersey red by engaging in political behavior. I mean, she's made comments like that. So what do you make of this, Harry? And then from a motion to dismiss standpoint, are these things that Alina Habba's done, are they going to be raised kind of pre this case ever even getting before a jury? Walk us through the steps.
Let me give you the headline, Ben. This is a dog of a case, and it is going nowhere. The only question is whether it's legally inadequate or just a spectacularly bad use of prosecutorial discretion. I think the story does start, as you say, March 27th, when Habba, who we all have seen before in her incarnation as Trump's personal attorney, something that she is doing again here, as is Bondi, said, let's see if I can use my office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, which must be nonpartisan, must be without fear or favor, to turn New Jersey red. Now, that's going to be quite relevant to an arrest of a sitting Congresswoman. Now let's go to the day of. 3 members of the delegation show up. They stay outside for hours, politely negotiating. A car goes through. Somebody follows them. They are all in there. Nobody tells them to stop. The mayor is with them as well. They're escorted into an inner space. That is the basis, just being there physically for the subsequent trespass charges against the mayor, which are, he's arrested, cuffed. This is like Judge Dugan, Ben, right? Cuffed and held for 4 or 5 hours when he is not even, he's in there. They jawbone him, tell him to leave. He does. And then they come out and cuff him and arrest him. And that the charges against her are that she tried to impede that arrest, encircle him, etc. That arrest was almost certainly illegit. And you now have Habba, by the way, coincident with bringing these charges against McIver, saying, we're dropping the charges against the mayor just to sort of advance things, incoherent. And let me mention that it was the very day in court when Brady information was due, anything they had that would tend to exculpate the mayor, that's when they waved the white flag. And I think the same thing is going to happen with her. So let's go to the complaint. As you say, there's a lot that's really messed up about that. Let me say one thing, that when I was U.S. attorney, you may not do anything to arrest a member of Congress without going to the public integrity section. That is something they want now to change and make every U.S. attorney able to do it in every district. It would be a debacle. Anyway, they arrest her and charge her with impeding. Now notice, after on the day of the 9th, when she's supposedly impeded, they go outside and arrest him. And then they bring her and the other 2 people in for a tour, as they've since offered to do to the mayor. So this terrible person who's impeded law enforcement, they say, please come in, Madam Congresswoman. The mayor can't because he's a mayor, but please come in and see the joint. There just can't be any credible notion that somehow she was dangerous or a worry to them. One other inside legal point that I think matters, I've spent a fair bit of time looking at it today. Third Circuit, jury instructions, it's not clear because there's nothing Third Circuit specific, but they tend to take jury instructions from other circuits that say she's got to have been trying to threaten physical injury. Now, the pictures, just as you say, they're handpicked. There is her arm on the back. We just don't know. I've seen a broader videotape. It's a melee. It's chaotic. ICE doesn't know what it's doing. The guy at the door doesn't know who can come in or not. There's no training. It's a friggin' mess. That would have been the first thing I would have been apoplectic about as a U.S. attorney. They come right out in the crowd to try to make this arrest a recipe for a mess. And then, again, zeroing on these pictures, I think some physical contact was made. But I think physical contact is made every day on the ride home in the subway or going up the escalator in a ballpark. And the cases are clear. You're not supposed to do this anytime there's a laying on of hands. This is for people who threaten and impede federal officers. That's not going to fly. And the whole thing is going to look like overreaching. And by the way, she says, does Habba, I tried so hard to negotiate this case without criminal charges, but unfortunately, the Congresswoman wouldn't do it. as U.S. attorney, I can read between those lines. She tried to get her to do something like apologize, confess, do something to justify Habba's actions. The Congresswoman wouldn't do it. And I don't see now, there's nothing in between. This is the charge under 111, unless this case is going to end with egg on their face for Habba, either because they just have to, as they've done already with the mayor, fold up shop and look like idiots for bringing it in the first place, or because they go to trial, because I believe that there's no in-between solution. I think the Congresswoman's ready to go to trial. She's represented, by the way, by a terrific attorney who's used to have her job under Obama, and he's really a very fine attorney. They're gonna eat her for lunch. She may have to testify, Habba, because of these things she said, because there'll be allegations it was done politically. But at the end of the day, and even though, you can say, well, hands were laid on, I don't know why they didn't give the video. Even so, it's just not going to be the kind of altercation that, bottom line, a jury will accept beyond a reasonable doubt that she had the proper intent, as opposed to just a chaotic scrum that was largely their doing because they didn't know what the hell they were doing. So this case is going to go south sooner or later. She's going to look, and for good reason, because it clearly is political. She's going after a Democratic Congresswoman after already saying, I want to use my office to turn the state red. I don't think a jury will have much trouble accepting the defense argument that we know why she's doing this, and it's not because of some terrible physical threat to federal officers.
Look, I get my legal news from the best, most experienced sources, so I want to share that with all of you, the Meidas Mighty. I mean, again, Harry Litman was one of the top DOJ lawyers at Main Justice in Washington, D.C., and then he was also the top federal prosecutor in the Western District of Pennsylvania. So he led the type of office that Habba is the interim.
Whether to do this, basically, that's Habba's just made. This is not a close call. None of my former colleagues would ever have indicted this case, leave alone that she's a congresswoman. Yeah.
And look, and you're talking about Democrats, Republicans, independents. This is a rare situation where you have Habba, someone who's brought cases that have gotten her sanctioned over $1 million in, say, the Southern District of Florida for bringing frivolous cases, doing a version of that, but using the DOJ's seal and the seal of the United States to engage in this conduct. Everybody subscribe to the Talking Feds YouTube channel, the Talking Feds podcast, and the Talking Feds Substack if you want to get the top legal analysis out there. Harry Litman, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.